national security agency, developed this software, and it's now being used by criminals around the world to demand ransom.
Right now, a crippling cyber attack has businesses around the world on high alert. The ransomware, known as WannaCry.
Security experts say this is one of the worst and most widespread pieces of malware they've ever seen.
I want to move on to the other developing story this morning, the global cyber attack.
In May 2017, the world faced one of the most devastating cyber attacks in history. A malicious ransomware swept across the entire world, crippling global networks, causing billions in damages, and locking computers for businesses, hospitals, and personal homes alike. But just as quickly as this bug spread, it got taken down, all because of just one man, an accidental hero. This is the story of Marcus Hutchins, and how one man stopped the world's largest cyber attack, and the price that he paid for it. The WannaCry virus was a ransomware bug, an attack that aims to encrypt data being stored in a system and hold it for ransom. But unlike most other ransomware bugs, WannaCry was worse, much worse. See, most bugs spread by way of phishing, where users have to make the mistake of clicking on a link or downloading a file in order for the machine to be infected. But WannaCry was different in that it worked like a virus. A single computer on a network could spread the virus around to other computers without the need of any user interaction whatsoever. And the virus spread like wildfire. The attack originated in Asia at around 7:45 AM on May the 12th. And within minutes, the malware had infected several computers in Taiwan and quickly spread through networks in China and Russia. By mid-morning, infections were reported in the UK, crippling the National Health Service. Hospitals found their systems locked. Urgent care services were thrown into chaos. Doctors couldn't access their patient records and ambulances were diverted. Critical surgeries had to be cancelled, with equipment such as MRI scanners, blood storage refrigerators, and theatre equipment all being infected. By noon, the virus had spread into Europe and was infecting networks of major businesses such as Renault, Telefonica, and Deutsche Bahn. And as the day progressed, companies rushed to ensure their security, but WannaCry still crossed the Atlantic, infecting businesses like FedEx, as well as small businesses across South America. For 12 hours, the virus spread uncontrollably, crippling businesses and services, infecting almost 300,000 systems in around 150 countries, causing almost $4 billion in damage worldwide. The attack was carried out by a hacking group called the Shadow Brokers, and to carry out this attack, the group stole and leaked an exploit that had been found by the NSA. The exploit, called Eternal Blue, targeted a vulnerability in the Windows operating system, allowing the bug to insert malicious packets of data and spread malware across an entire network automatically. Before the Shadow Brokers had stole and leaked this virus, it was one of the most useful exploits in the NSA's cyber arsenal, having been used in countless intelligence gathering and counter-terrorism missions. But the Shadow Brokers used this exploit to spread a ransomware. If your system got infected with this bug, it would display a chilling message stating that your files had been encrypted, and that the only way to recover them would be through their own decryption service, which required a $300 ransom paid in Bitcoin. After 3 days, the ransom would double to $600, and after 7, the files would be permanently lost forever. But all because of one man, the virus halted just as quickly as it spread. Enter 22-year-old Marcus Hutchins, a British cybersecurity researcher, and a hacker who went anonymously by the name MalwareTech. Later on in the afternoon, curious about the nature of this virus that was spreading, he began researching it. And he realized that every single time, the bug would send a request to a server at this exact hard-coded domain. Given that no such website actually existed, curious of the importance of the domain, at just after 3 PM, for just $10, Marcus ended up registering the domain, a routine action in malware research. But what Marcus didn't realize was that simple act effectively activated a kill switch, halting the spread of the virus entirely. Marcus had unwittingly become a global hero. Unfortunately for him, however, what he didn't realize was that all of this notoriety would completely blow his anonymity, even leading to his arrest. Growing up, Marcus always had an obsession with computers. In class, he would use a scripting tool in Microsoft Word called Visual Basic to bypass the school's restrictions, allowing him to download games like Counter-Strike and Call of Duty. On his 13th birthday, his parents caved in and bought him PC components so he could build his own PC.
For Marcus, it had become a complete and utter love.
His mother tried to combat what she thought was turning into an unhealthy obsession. She tried to install parental controls on his computer, but Marcus was smart, and he quickly figured out how to bypass them. She tried to limit his internet access on the router, but Marcus found a hardware reset on the router and then configured it to boot her offline instead. His mother quickly then realized that there would be really no way for her to restrict him.
There was no way of monitoring Marcus, because he was way more clever than any of us were ever going to be.
At just 13, Marcus began getting involved in the world of hacking. He explored hacking web forums where he found a community of like-minded young hackers, just like him, showing off their inventions. And at 14, he posted his own first contribution, a simple password stealer, earning him praise amongst the community. And within just a few years, his skills with hacking grew to the point where he began selling his own malware and was hosting a site that sold malware. What Marcus didn't know at the time, however, was that this activity would come back to haunt him later in life. At just the age of 16, Marcus was known within the community as a talented malware writer, and he was approached by a figure who went by the pseudonym Vinny, a man Marcus believed to be more professional. Unlike other members of the community, Vinny was exceptionally tight-lipped. He never revealed a single shred of personal information about himself, and he approached Marcus to help build a rootkit, a piece of software designed to enable users to gain unauthorized access to a system without detection. Marcus agreed to help him, and after 9 months of work, he'd finished writing the software he called UPass. And after he was done with that, Vinny approached Marcus to build UPass 2.0, which included features for stealing bank information.
I'm not fucking working on a banking Trojan.
However, Marcus ended up agreeing, due to the fact that Vinny knew details about Marcus's identity and address, and jokingly threatened to blackmail him. Vinny, however, had to come to a compromise. Marcus agreed to develop 2.0, so long as he didn't add a web inject feature which would allow the malware to defeat security measures and steal banking information. But when Marcus had finished the development, Vinny revealed that he just hired someone else to implement the feature anyways. Marcus was furious. He had no leverage and realized that he'd unknowingly authored the majority of a banking Trojan, which would be sold to customers whether he likes it or not, and so he reluctantly agreed to keep making the malware.
I'm not fucking working on a banking Trojan.
Vinny went on to sell the new and improved rootkit, which he renamed to Kronos. After Kronos' release, Marcus ceased contact with Vinny. He graduated from school and distanced himself from the world of cybercrime. He got a job at a cybersecurity firm, which to his surprise, paid far better than cybercrime. He excelled at this job, and he was described as a savant by an NSA hacker who worked with him during this time. Marcus probably hoped at this point that his past life of cybercrime was completely behind him and would never haunt him again, which would have been true until he stopped the WannaCry attack. After Marcus stopped the WannaCry attack in 2017, he was a celebrity and a rock star within the world of cybersecurity. As such, he made public appearances and attended conferences in the field of cybersecurity. It had been 3 years since his work on Kronos, and life as a celebrity was looking very good for Marcus. But after a conference in Las Vegas, Marcus was in the airport about to head home when he was apprehended by the FBI. His charge? Kronos. Marcus was put into handcuffs and put into custody, where he gave the officers a half confession, admitting to authoring parts of Kronos, but lying and saying he stopped working on it before he turned 18. The overwhelming response to his arrest was one of sympathy. Members of the community as well as the world at large viewed him as a hero, even raising money to bail him from jail. After a long and lengthy legal trial, Marcus eventually ended up accepting a plea deal. The rest of his life now held in the balance of the judge that presided over his sentencing. On the 26th of July 2019, 2 whole years after his initial arrest, Marcus's sentencing was held. Extremely anxious, Marcus entered the courtroom 2 hours early to avoid the press, and took a small dose of Xanax to help calm his nerves. The judge began reading out his sentence, and to Marcus's surprise, he showed a lot of leniency towards him, arguing that he was a cybersecurity expert who had turned the corner long before he ended up facing justice, even going as far to argue that he deserves a full pardon even though the court did not have power to grant one. In the end, Marcus was sentenced to time served with a 1-year period of supervision. Upon the gavel dropping, Marcus hugged his lawyers and his mother, who had flown in for the hearing, and walked out of the courtroom a free man. And that's the story of how one man stopped the world's largest cyber attack.